Here's our greetings from Pennsylvania once again, and we have made it to Pittsburgh. We're here at Point State Park, location of Fort Duquesne. It's the happening place. And we'll see if we can find a quieter spot to talk about what's going on here. Here's a map. Of course, we're here for Fort Duquesne. They also have Fort Pitt here, the outline of it, which is mostly underneath this modern highway. So there is a lot of history here. I'll try to show you what I can of it. It's the happening place. And we are going to stick channel sticker number 57 out here somewhere, hopefully, for those who want to brave Pittsburgh and find it. Gotta find a place for that though. Man, traffic was awful trying to get here today. Because we just filmed Braddock's Road earlier today. And after this, I'm probably gonna head on over to my campsite at Raccoon Creek State Park over in Beaver County. But wow, let me show you this view. Got the river here. Of course, this is the forks of the Ohio. I believe this is the Monongahela, and the Allegheny River comes in too, and then they form the Ohio River. Wow. The forks of the Ohio. To think this is, in a way, responsible for the French and Indian War. So both France and Britain wanted to control this area, the Ohio Valley. And if you could control the forks of the Ohio, right here, you could control the area. At least that's what the thought was. The British got here first. Oh, actually, there was a man named William Trent who built like a trading post here in the 1740s. But in 1753, George Washington actually passed through here. There was no fort here at the time. The French were kind of starting to encroach. They had built Fort Presque Isle on Lake Erie, and they had built Fort Le Boeuf as well. And he went up there and met with them, encouraging them to not build forts in the area. Of course, they didn't listen. And in the following year, in January of 1754, Washington returned. And in about February of that year, they started building a little fort here, Fort Prince George, I believe it was called. Didn't last that long, though. In about April of 1754, the French arrived. Washington wasn't around anymore, he had left. But they did away with that little fort. They let the British soldiers away, but then they just tore down the fort and built Fort Duquesne. Now they then controlled this area. Of course, that was a problem for the British. And then here in 1755, of course, we've been filming Braddock's expedition today. The whole point of Braddock's expedition was to retake the area where Fort Duquesne was, to destroy it, and actually to move up and destroy some of the other French forts north of here. Fort Machault, Fort Le Boeuf, and Fort Presque Isle. Make his way all the way up to, I think, Fort Niagara up in New York. At least that was the plan. But as we know, that did not work. At the Battle of Monongahela, Braddock was utterly defeated, and that resulted in so much damage then to the settlers east, the Indian and French raids. But then in 1758, there was another expedition, the Forbes expedition, which was successful in capturing Fort Duquesne. The French actually abandoned Fort Duquesne before Forbes and the British Army arrived. They really were no match for them. Run out of supplies, and didn't have any reinforcements, so they burned the fort and abandoned it prior to Forbes and his army arriving. And right here is the point. Here's the confluence of the Monongahela, Allegheny River. There's the Ohio. Here's the little fountain at the point. Just give you a 360 view here. Looks like an old inclined plane going up there. Yeah, so much effort to control this one little area. Right, and out here in the middle of the lawn area is the outline of Fort Duquesne. I think this line represents the original shoreline, so the rivers were actually up to here. This is all river back then. So it's been the original shoreline. And right in the middle of it in Fort Duquesne. Not a very large fort, you'll see. But it has that typical shape. You got the four corners, the four bastions. They would have had some cannons. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4. There are some people here for scale. I mean, it's large enough to hold quite a few people. Right here in the middle is where the fort itself was then. Looks like they got a little plaque of sorts up here. Yeah, this marks the exact site of Fort Duquesne, built by the French in 1754. The fort was destroyed by the French on the approach of the English army in 1758. Here's another little turn around here. See what was in it. All right, cool. Just looking back at the point. Of course, this happened in late in 1758, probably about December time. Of course, George Washington was here for that too. Then, of course, this fort was the French destroyed it on the advance of the British, and then they built the British built Fort Pitt here, not on the exact site of Fort Duquesne, but just up a little ways further inland. They built Fort Pitt, starting about 1759. And there are some remains of that fort up here. Of course, most of it is being covered by these highways and stuff. But over this way, you can see some of the original fort. It was a much bigger fort than Fort Duquesne, too. As some of the maps show. We'll check that out a little bit. Still looking for a place to hide that channel sticker. There's so many people around, but we'll find a spot. Yes, I believe this is one of the original buildings right here. I forget what this is called. There's a little sign up here. Is this the blockhouse? I think they said there was really only one building original. But over there you can see Fort Pitt too. That's one of the bastions sticking out. Much bigger than Fort Duquesne. Alright, so I believe I have found a spot. There's a nice rock right there. Because up that way is the entrance to the park. There's Fort Pitt in the museum. Here's that beautiful yellow bridge. Now there's the Fort Pitt Tunnel. So that's where we are. This takes you down to the walk along the river, the Monongahela. So that's where we are. There's a lamppost there, and one right up there by these mulch piles. Not sure if these will be here when you cut, but right here is this peculiar looking rock. One that I can easily lift up and stick the channel sticker under. So that's what we're gonna do. Stick it under there. So there lies channel sticker number 57. Underneath there. Right by the museum, the beautiful yellow bridge, Monongahela River, Fort Pitt Tunnel. And I do have one channel sticker to share, the one I placed at the Carrick Iron Furnace, channel sticker number 55. Day Hike Dave found that one too, so I'll share his picture in a moment here, but he also made another video of him going to go look for us. I'll post that link to that video down below. I think he's going to do something with that sticker too. I think he's going to hide it somewhere else as well. But if you can follow his channel, see what he does with that. All right, we'll take another look here at Fort Pitt, and we'll get ourselves out of Pittsburgh. Of course, once again, here's part of Fort Pitt. This is just one of the bastions, the corner pieces. You can see how far bigger it was in Fort Duquesne. Not sure how original all of this is, but I believe that's where the museum is too. Outside the park, they have another really cool view of the area. Down there's Fort Duquesne, right at the point, and then you can see Fort Pitt in the middle. See how it's quite a bit bigger than Fort Duquesne, and we're standing right in the middle of it right now. But you wouldn't necessarily tell because of all the traffic and the buildings and everything.
I kept applying for
Yeah.
For then
And of course, the British then controlled it then after, until the American Revolution, when the Americans took over. All right, this is also my 83rd state park I've been to. I'm trying to get to every state park here in Pennsylvania. This is number 83, I believe. All right, so we're gonna head on out of here. Try to get to my campsite. Beautiful place, just lots of people. All right, but as always, thanks for coming along. Channel Sticker number 57 is out there, and hopefully I'll see you on the next one.